Hi guys, it's Kelly here and I'm back with another video. Today's video is featuring some products from Pretty Pink Posh. I am using the Scallop Borders 2, the Sand Bucket dies. These little guys are the Halloween pals. I do not have the dies for them. And then this one over here was like the Halloween Friends. That one sold out, but I thought I might use the moon. I didn't end up using the moon. So you might be asking yourself, Kelly, why are your stamps yellow? My stamps are yellow because they're, I've had them a long time and they've been exposed to sunlight because I don't really take care of them all that well. Well, now, I mean, I'm better about it, but in the beginning I didn't realize. But anywho, so the making of this card is unintentionally kind of using what you have to make a holiday card. With the exception of this. This is the only the actual Halloween stamp set that I used, and actually Pretty Pink Posh is having a 15% off sale on their Halloween stuff this week, so it's probably ending in like the next day or two. There's no code, you just add it to your cart and the 15% off comes off your cart. So right now this stamp set's like a little over $7. But I wanted to do like this cute little sweet scene, little Halloween card. And so I just shopped my stash. It's pretty much what I did. And you guys know, like I'm a big proponent of like use, what you have. If you are a person who you're like, I really like this shaker kind of bucket idea, I would actually, instead of getting the sandcastle one, which is very cute and it comes with like a little little shovel and stuff like that, they actually have one that's a candy bucket. And since I am such a huge proponent of like get the most out of what you have, the candy bucket has a bunch of add-ons, include like Christmas, Halloween. The Halloween one is on sale. And then, it's got one for Valentine's Day where you can turn it into like a little puppy dog. It's adorable. So I don't have that one, but it's definitely on my wish list. But I did have this one, so that's what I used. So speaking of sales, if you guys caught my live yesterday, Olo is also very generously giving me a discount code for their markers, a 10% off discount code. The code is Kelly, Kelly. I'll link it below on YouTube. And that includes, anything that they have over on their website, including the pre-order for, the new 96 markers that are coming out, or the sets, like if something that you want to try. So that's good through October though, through October 31st. But so here you have like a little witch cat and a little pirate puppy dog, and then they're coordinating little jack-o'-lanterns. And so like right away, it offers an opportunity for a really balanced card because you have like the 4 images, and then because there are dies for this, I just don't own them. I am gonna fussy cut them out so that I can use them in my scene to make my little shaker bucket. I told you in the beginning the other set, I think it's Halloween. It's Halloween Friends. That's what I said, right? Who knows? So anyway, the Halloween Friends is sold out, but I've actually used that one in a video like 1 million years ago. I'll see if I can find it to link to it. But I didn't use the moon. What I ended up doing was I just die cut. I used a circle die and I just die cut a little full moon out so that I could set my scene. My scene for the grass is going to be that scallop border, and again, that's not even supposed to be a hill, guys. That's just supposed to be like a detail layer. So I would encourage you to look at what you have and look at it a little bit differently. We do need to talk about the coloring. So this is so funny. It's just why I did it before, and I did it, I think, with the Distress Oxides in a video, but I was actually coloring with this in a live And oh wait, hold on, let's talk about the cat. So the cat is white, but you'll notice that I'm putting some pretty heavy gray shading onto the cat. That is because it's a night scene. So a lot of her or his, whichever, bright white is not going to be seen as bright white. Pretty much the only point where I left white was on those like kind of front forepaws, because that hat would be kind of casting a shadow down over the face. I did go in with a little bright pink for the ears and then on the cheeks, because I think that's darling. And we wanted a cute Halloween card, right? So then for the puppy dog, I chose some browns. You may have noticed when I was doing the striping on the shirt, I colored the whole bottom half of that dog white, because I knew that the brown would cover up whatever it was, and I wasn't sure exactly how far I wanted the shirt to go. So coloring the whole thing with the grays and coloring them white really just is the easier way for me to go about it. And then I did choose a couple of browns. Again, that pirate hat would have a little bit of shading where the ears are kind of hanging over the face, where the paws are in front of the belly and stuff. That would all cast shadows. So let's go back to this purple. So I used it in a live the other day, and I was like somebody was like, oh, that's such a pretty color. And it is, by the way, it is a very pretty purple. And I'm not even somebody who likes purple. And I was like, yeah. And then somebody asked for like what the Copic equivalent would be. And so I started looking and I was like, gosh, this is really more like a red violet than a violet. But like the equivalent would be like an RV19 in Copics. Back to the card. So this sentiment, because I don't have any dyes, I don't even know if they have sentiment dyes in the dyes, honestly. I'm going to use this as the top part of my bucket, which like normally you could cut out to also include the shaker, but I'm actually going to cut it out to use it as my sentiment and then just use the bottom portion as my shaker. So I'm going to cut my bucket out of white and the little handle for it. And then here I'm just making sure that that fits nicely and it's still legible. And then I'm going to cut out the middle portion with that secondary dye. Like I said, if you're interested in that candy bucket, it has the same thing. It's just a different shape. And then I'm going to color the handle like a grayish color, the same thing that I used for the cat's hat and the dog's little pirate cap. And then I'm going to color the bucket in that same purple combination. So we're back to the purple combination, right? So I'm using it, and the cap that is on it is a V1.6. And I'm like, okay, this is definitely like more of a red violet, but it's super pretty. So like I'm okay with that. And then you're going to see as this progresses through what you probably already know, because I switched the caps. Guys, what is wrong with me? In the live, I even looked at it and I was like, oh, Lily Magnolia, that's such a pretty name. Did I look at the number next to it? No, sir, I did not. I absolutely did not look at the number next to it, because if I had, I would have seen that it said RV 1.7, but I didn't look. I just continued on my merry way. Oh man. So anywho, this is a pinkish purple bucket. And then I am going to actually go back in and go over this again once I realize my boo-boo, to help it blend a little bit better. So here is my scallop. Please excuse my barking dogs. My child must have come in the door. So the scallop is like a border. There's 3 in that pack. And they actually have another one that would be really good for scenes. It's called the stitched borders. I think it's 4. I'll link it. But that would be really good as well. So if you have some of these that are like kind of decorative borders, look and see if maybe you could use them to make a scene card. I'm going to use mine to make a cute little scallopy hill. My whole card theme is very cute. So doing the little scallop totally fits in with the whole idea of it being like a super cutesy little scene. For my ink blending, I am doing the Twisted Citron, the Mowed Lawn, Rustic Wilderness, and then Black Soot. And then here it is a much sped up version. I am not this quick, in the reverse. So I like to do mine twice because I feel like that gives me a better blend, and I'll leave that top of the hill the lightest. For the sky, remember, I have that circle mast that's going to be our moon. And that was just a regular circle die. So I'm doing the blues, which I would normally do. So like Salty Ocean, Prize Ribbon, Chip Sapphire, Black Soot. But I wanted to add like some pinks and purples in there to kind of tie in the game plan for my bucket. So after I do the Prize Ribbon, I'm going to go in with a little bit of Villainous Potion, which is a darker purple, and I'm going to go in with a little bit of Picked Raspberry, which over the blue is going to, in fact, give me another layer of purple. It's just going to be a little bit brighter. And then I will go in with the Chip Sapphire and then the Black Soot. It really just depends on what kind of sky you want. You don't have to do it as dark as mine is. You know, you could do it a little bit lighter. It is a full moon. So, you know, you could have it be a little bit brighter. We just had a full moon recently. And when I took the dogs outside at night, I was like, it is very light out here. Very, very light. So here is that second layer. I don't know what I did. I bumped the mask and then the mask came off and then I was just working around it. But I'm going to put the mask back on because I am going to do a little bit of spatters. First, I'm going to do the spatters with just some clean water to help it look like the stars are a little bit further away. And then I'm going to do the stars with a little bit of Perfect Pearls in the color Perfect Pearls. So it's kind of more of like a white, silvery-ish. And anything that I can add more shimmer or glimmer to, I'm going to do it. You can probably hear me moving this card around because it has the little shaker bits. So to make the stars a little bit finer, I do kind of tap them off before I take it to the paper. And then that moon mask can come off to help give our moon a little bit of dimension to make it look more like a moon. I am going to add some shading with some of the cool grays. Really, they're just kind of like little blobs. You don't have to be overly concerned about it. It's just going to help give it a little bit of something. And then this, I actually cut these and put them into the package a long time ago. So I just pulled one that was cut out of the package. So I cut them in the landscape because I wasn't sure how I was going to use them in the future. And so I'm just going to cut off the excess to create my little hill. And then this, I mean, honestly, like this right here could be a backdrop for a lot of different things. I decided I was going to put my little cat and its jack-o'-lantern up at the top, and then the puppy dog and its jack-o'-lantern down at the bottom. I chose to do this because, like, I think cats are more known for, like, climbing up on things. I don't own cats. I only have dogs. But I do have friends that have cats, and it seems like they're always, like, in their Christmas trees and things like that. So I was like, yeah, I think that's going to make the most sense, that the little kitty would climb up there and sit on top of this big, enormous bucket. So for the fussy cutting, which I understand this is not for everybody, and that's totally fine. I would encourage you to buy the dies or, use a Brother Scan and Cut. I bought this like back in the day before I was buying dies for things because I had to make a choice monetarily what I wanted to spend my money on, and I'd rather have the images to color. So for the fussy cutting, a few tips. Cut with keep your scissors straight in your dominant hand, move the paper with your non-dominant hand. That helps for a smoother cut. Trim them down into smaller pieces so you're not pulling against a large, expanse of paper. And then once they are cut out, to help them have a more finished finished look, you're going to want to use a black marker. A water-based marker, an alcohol marker will run the risk of bleeding into your images. This one is a Tuxedo Memento black marker, and then you want to add that black from the back, just in case your marker slips. That way you're not ruining all the coloring that you just spent all of this time doing. So otherwise you can like hold them onto a scrap piece of paper and then like color around them. So for the shaker bits here, I have a piece of acetate that I am going to cut my window out of. You could also just use old packaging if you have some acetate left over from some packaging. And then I am going to cut another piece out of white. This is going to be the back of our bucket. I did look at like cutting it out of a piece of colored cardstock so I didn't have to color the whole thing, but I couldn't find one that was close enough match. So here I am doing the same thing. See our red velvet, or our red violet that we are coloring with on the edges. How did I realize it? I realized it because I had a very large area to color, and I thought, well, maybe I'm going to need another color to help it blend in. So then I started looking, and I pulled the 1.6. And here is the actual moment in which I realize that I have just straight up been coloring with the wrong marker. So now I'm going to go in with the actual V1.6 and color over it. Nobody's perfect, least of all me. Nope, no ma'am. I am absolutely not. It did help blend the colors better, but it still ended up with a little bit of that pink on the edges. And honestly, I'm not mad about it. I think that it's a fun kind of combination for Halloween. I like the addition of purple into, the more traditional orange, black, lime green. I do like the purple added in there. I think it adds a fun pop of color, and you guys know I love bright colors. So here I am going right over that RV 1.7 with the V1.6 I originally thought I was using. And then I will blend it back out with those same, I think it's a V2.4 and then a 2.3, I think is what it is. So yeah, somebody did ask in the live about the refills, like how you refill Ola markers. So if you don't, I'm just thinking about it because as I'm like coloring this huge expanse, I'm like, ooh, I'm probably going to have to get the refill for this one just because I've been using it a lot. So they do have refills. They are cheaper than the actual markers, but it's not like a traditional alcohol marker refill. You don't drip the alcohol ink in. The refill is enclosed, and so basically you take the nib off of the marker you already own and the cap, and then you put that onto the refill. So you basically swap out the barrels that already have the ink in them. That is how you refill them. So here I'm just double checking that everything is how I need it to be, and then we are going to start building our shaker. So I am using some like just rip and tear tape. I find this does adhere better to the acetate than a liquid. A liquid will work, but you kind of have to add some weight to it and be patient. And we all know I am very impatient. So instead of doing that, I am doing this. I'm using some dry adhesive. You could probably use a tape runner as well. You would maybe just have to clean up the edges because I think it would be pretty hard to just get it on those really thin edges. So here's my piece of acetate. I am going to pull off my backing paper. I did switch to a thicker one, like a thicker double-sided tape when I got to the top. And then I'm going to line this up on my acetate. I find it easiest to line it up on the bottom and then make sure everything is lining up as I move to the top. So now these pieces, these shaker strips, these are intentionally cut thin, but they are thick. So they're like 2 or 3, like the width of them is like 2 or 3 different foam tapes like stacked on top of each other, but they're already cut to be super thin. These are amazing and super helpful. I didn't even know that they were a thing until I think I got sent them by somebody, and I was like, this is amazing. Total game changer for the shaker bit. So when you're doing a shaker, you want to make sure that your foam tape is edge to edge to edge. So each edge should be butted up against the other so none of your shaker bits can escape. So once I did the like the square rectangle, I don't know, of the bottom, then I was able to use like a thicker piece at the top, but all of those that are like building up the walls for my shaker are like edge to edge touching. For the inside, I didn't even use Halloween bits for the inside, guys. I used the iridescent stars in 2 sizes, the silver stars in 2 sizes, and then I used, it's actually a holiday mix, but it had the lime green and like the pinkish purple and some clear and white like iridescent sequins. I think it's the holiday shimmer. But anyway, that one was not even. So literally the only thing on this entire card that is specifically Halloween is that Halloween Pals stamp set. Everything else is just another type of item that we've morphed into a Halloween use. So now I spread them all out, and now I'm going to put my lid on. So I flipped over the back to seal it in, and then that is going to contain all of our little shaker bits. Of course, I'm only human, so once I turn it into a shaker, I do have to shake it vigorously multiple times to make sure that it is good. I think it's like the equivalent of, like when you're making something and you have to check it for poison. Like you have to eat the chocolate chips to check it for poison, or you have to eat the cookie dough to check it for poison. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that's the shake. Like, you just got to shake it around a lot to make sure that it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. For my handle, I'm actually going to put it onto the side here. I only put the glue on just the 2 edges so that it would not, like, it's lifted off of the actual shaker bits. And then for the sentiment, I am going to adhere that right over the handles so it kind of looks like how it would, like, tucked up under the lip of like a sand bucket. And then here, it was kind of too matchy-matchy, which is weird for me to say. But I wanted the stripes to be just a little bit different. I left the cats, but I did do the dogs a little bit darker. And then here, I'm just doing a little bit of a shadow. The moon is behind. The big bucket would kind of cast a little bit of a shadow. And then this is super easy because we're just going to follow like the little flare of the bucket shape. So that's really, really easy to add a shadow to. I'm going to do a little bit of grasses. I'm using the same, I'm using greens that kind of match the ink blending. So I think it ended up being a YG, what did I use? Now I gotta look. Probably an YG 8.7 and a 1.6. And then for the lightest one, maybe a 2.5, maybe a 1.4. Anyway, it doesn't matter. You just want to get the flicks of the grasses get progressively lighter as it gets up to the top. For my little fussy cut guys, I want I obviously have a lot of bulk with the shaker, so I need them to sit on top of that. So that means that I'm having to add that kind of triple thick foam tape to the images, but it's not to the entire image. It's just to like where it overhangs the bucket. So for like the pirate, it's just on the right-hand side, or for the cat, it's just on the top. I could have also put it underneath the cat's tail, but honestly, I'm not that crazy. I don't want to be aggravated and frustrated trying to work with little teeny tiny bits. So I just didn't. The tail seems to be fine. I guess if I was mailing it, which we would all know that I'm not because I don't mail anything, I would be maybe slightly more concerned, but I'm not. If you're mailing it, you might want to put a little bit of foam tape underneath there. And then otherwise, I just used regular, like my regular liquid adhesive to adhere it to the portion where it's sitting over the bucket. And then the dog is sat back just a little bit, and then my pumpkin is a little bit forward. So that way it makes sense for how they're seated. Like the pumpkin is in front of the dog. I did have to move this up just a little bit. It was sitting a little too far down, And then once I got those down, I did go in and add in a little shadow underneath each of them. So for the cat and its jack-o'-lantern, it's going to be the purple underneath there. I did use the correct purples this time. And then for the puppy dog and his jack-o'-lantern, I will use those same greens that I used before. I did add, that little, it's almost just like a little comma shape for his tail, because that's really the only part of it that would cast a shadow. Last but not least, we are going to be adding some shimmer and some white gel pen. So I added that to the cat's hat, to the jack-o'-lantern, to the puppy dog's hat, ears, and tail. I also added just a couple of little spots to my moon so that I would have like some bright white areas in my moon. And then I used my clear... Oh, I forgot I put some in the sky too. I did some more stars, like just bright white stars in the sky, 2 different sizes, bigger and then just a couple little dots smaller. And then the shimmer, I put on pretty much everything. I put on the cat, the dog, the jack-o'-lantern, the handle, and along the top and sides of my bucket. I also put it on my moon? I did. So here's my shaker, my Halloween card that's super cute, that's made out of very few Halloween things. If you're interested in that Halloween sale, remember it's just ends in the today or the next day. And then that Olo marker coupon, Kelly, Kelly, is good till the end of the month. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I appreciate your time, and I will catch you on the next video. Bye.